It's Dew Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this Dew Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday was Wow Wednesday, and we started off with our girl Shantice. Yesterday, we were missing our girl Vivian, and she talked about our Zelnor Myrie here in New York City, who will be running for mayor, and some subjects we have not heard in quite some time that he will be focusing on: more homes, gun violence, free universal after-school programs, regaining the staff at the police precincts, things like that, mental health and their housing, and just putting things into place for them. Just some stuff, like I said, that we just haven't heard about. And it's sad because we know how prevalent those things are. But for some reason, with all that's going on, this stuff is extremely important, but yet we have not heard the importance of it. We have not heard anyone focusing on it. We just recently got word that, the mayor was concerned about the greenery in the metropolitan area, and they were going to turn a lot of those vacant lots into like green spaces for people to enjoy during the summertime. And although I'm sure there's some enjoyment and concern when we get out, stuff like gun violence and free universal after school programs, is a bigger concern. And that was $30 million. He was talking about $30 million. That's a lot of money to be poured into a cause such as that, when these are things that we can really benefit from. So let's hope that, if not Zelnor Myrie, someone else who is, throwing their hat into the ring is really about the business and will really take care of our communities. We talked about the MTA conductor that was attacked the other day in the Bronx, and just doing her job, looking up and down the platform just to ensure that everything was fine. And oh my, to be slashed, just taking up what she's supposed to be doing. So prayers up for her and her family. This is going to be a traumatizing journey. Her healing is going to be, a journey. This is not something that you're just going to be able to walk away from. I mean, am I going to be free to step out of that box that they have there, their little cubby hole? It's a concern. It's a concern. So, we understand, and we are definitely lifting her up in prayer. Well, we had a new bill that's being passed in the Senate, and it's the CARE Act for basic needs and provision for the pregnant women who are incarcerated. And we talked about that yesterday as well. And, the food that they get and the conditions that they're in and the medical care that they receive. They need prenatal vitamins and iron and things like that. And, it's Yes, most of them got themselves there, but without judgment, should we not be concerned about their basic care? Because ultimately, it's being concerned about the baby's basic care, and the baby didn't ask to come here. And you should at least be providing some decent care for all of the inmates, not just them, but especially them. Well, well, well. The hot topic and wow story of the week. Oh, this 20-year-old dad who admitted that he threw his 2-year-old child in the river to the 17-year-old mother. Oh boy, yes. They had he was unstable. The word is that he had an argument with his mother, stormed out the house with the baby. They had video surveillance that he threw the baby into the water, and they arrested him. They asked him about it, and he was tight-lipped, didn't say a word, was not saying anything. They had him, but had not arrested him with any charges. So this is really a crazy story, because yet again, he said he did it. Now, we know people get mad and they say things and just to be spiteful, because that's what he told the mom when he pulled the knife on her when she asked about the child. And we know that people say things when they're angry, and why did you say that? I was mad. Listen, we have no time for these games. There's a child, an innocent child at risk here, and really, they really need to crack down on how they handle things, how the police handle things. They were told that they could not do anything because he was in the care of his father. Boy, we've seen being in the care of the dads. They still are putting information in the news about the dad we talked about on Friday, who's a veteran who was who they're afraid is hiding out in the wilderness. They can't find him, begging him to come out and turn himself in after he killed his 3 daughters. So this parental thing is really not a thing. We really need to care about these children. So this is how we spent our Wow Wednesday, boy. The conversation was hot as always. I encourage you to go back and watch. Yes, right here on the Closer Walk Media Network. And you will definitely see all the chatter that was going on in the chat room as well. So today is Therapeutic Thursday. We're going to shift gear. We were supposed to have a guest, but we're going to see how many of the Due Time crew can actually come out today at last minute warning. All right. So listen, we're going to do what we got to do. We know you're going to help keep this chat room running, and we're going to make the best of it. So let's go and get that healthy breakfast. Let's go and tell everybody that it's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because we will be right back.
Folding cabinet bed, or what we call the Murphy bed, which made her one of the first African-American women to receive a U.S. patent. Born in 1855, her father was a carpenter and her mother was an activist for the Underground Railroad. Good's family would move to Chicago, Illinois, where she would later meet her husband, Archibald, who was a stair builder. The couple became entrepreneurs, opening up a furniture store on State Street, a thriving retail and business center in Chicago. They mostly served working-class families who lived in very small apartments, and with the limited space, they had very little room for furniture. Recognizing her customers' challenges, Good designed a bed that could fold into a roll-top desk, allowing homeowners to maximize their living space. The desk featured integrated storage compartments, making it a multifunctional piece of furniture when the bed was not in use. This invention was an early precursor to today's Murphy bed and other space-saving furniture designs. Her invention was an early example of space-saving furniture design, a concept that remains relevant even in today's modern urban living. As one of the first African-American women to hold a U.S. patent, Sarah Good paved the way for future generations to break barriers in the fields of design and engineering.
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, and it is Therapeutic Thursday. Yes, the day we talk about our health in any shape, form, or fashion, our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, whichever form of health we can talk about. And we made it, y'all. By the grace of God, we are on the other side of Wednesday, where we're coming down to the end of the week. And we just trusting God that we're going to get through the rest of this week. All right. If you're in the room, I need to know about it. And the only way I can say good morning is if you let me know you're in the room. Let's say good morning to Terrence. Good morning, Terrence. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Our girl, Ketty, is in the room. Good morning, Ketty. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. And we got our Sherry. Good morning. Missed you, girl. Glad to see you in the room. Hope all is well. And we got our Lady Tamika. Good morning, Lady Tamika. I know you weren't supposed to be talking to me directly this morning, but here I am. Hope to see you in a couple of minutes. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we must say good morning to the ladies that hold it down and keep us live on Facebook as well as YouTube. Let's say good morning to our girls, Shantice. Hey, Shantice. Good morning. And we're saying good morning to our girl, Anika. Thank you. Let me tell you something about Anika. We are now promoting our Breaking the Yoke Conference 2025. And I Pastor Steph, I don't like to do things the regular way. So I didn't want a website. I didn't want to, do the same old mundane things everybody else does. So I thought to come up with a magazine. Well, here's the thing. Pastor Steph thinks about all of these things, but I can only do but so much. And I contacted our girl, Anika. And for last year's 2024 Breaking the Yoke Women's Conference and the first year, our 2023, she did a fantastic job on putting that magazine together. Boy, that flip through is crazy. So I wanted to do an announcement a little different than I normally do. Everybody just puts out a flyer, and I didn't want to do it like that. So I hit her up. It's like, this is what I want to do. And man, she sent that thing over. It is phenomenal. So if you have not gotten one yet, and I have your text or your email, trust me, you will be getting one of those. And feel free to flip those pages. It is a phenomenal and beautiful presentation. We were able to add a little music to it. Man, she's off the hook, I tell you, and she works hard. So behind the scenes, we can't get it done. You see us in front of the camera, and all of that, and you hear Pastor Steph's voice, there's a voice that you literally don't hear, but you hear all the time. And that's Anika's voice. Because, man, if it weren't for Anika, Pastor Steph wouldn't be. So thank you so much. Big shout outs to you this morning. Yesterday, we were able to launch the send out of the announcement of our Breaking the Yoke 2025 Women's Conference, and everybody is so excited. We want you to get excited with us. So if you have not gotten an announcement directly, you want to get one of those. Hit me up in the DM Facebook, Coach for Christian Life. You can't miss me. My picture is there and everything. Shanti says I was a real creep on Instagram. So you can hit me up on Instagram, Coach for Christian Life. You can hit me up on TikTok, Coach for Christian Life. That's just my thing. I'm not changing the name. And I am really looking forward to some phenomenal presentations on that day. The ladies have picked, man, the struggle is real. They have picked some fantastic topics, and I can't wait. I cannot wait. So, she says, my pleasure. Yes, don't miss it, y'all. Hey, Miss Grace. Good morning. Thank you so much for checking in. I trust that you're doing well today. Wonderful having you with us. So please tell a friend. Please tell a friend. You know, if you enjoy being on with us each morning, if you have been out to the conference and you enjoyed it, you need to tell somebody. We're going to be doing some giveaways and things like that up into the July 19th date of the conference. So there's a lot to look forward to, even, you know, as we prepare to get there. All right. So what are we talking about in our health news today? Those of you who suffer from eczema. Wow, we got some information for you. All right. They say there are some lifestyle changes for you to make if you suffer with severe eczema. Okay. Now, the eczema struggle is real. I've seen people struggle with eczema so badly. I remember as a child, there was a kid who had eczema really bad. And when I tell you, from head to toe, he suffered. And his skin was so badly rashed and cracky and things like that. And, you know, kids are so cruel. They made fun of him. And, you know, it's just, you know, it's a struggle. I had no idea what it was about. And as I got older and I saw other people suffer with it, and, you know, people close to me are suffering with eczema, I definitely see the struggle. And this time of year, it's really difficult. Yes. So they say it's crucial that you take care of your body and your skin as a whole, because you need to definitely treat that eczema. They say shower smart. That's the first hint to living with this eczema a little easier. They say if you have eczema, don't take hot showers or hot baths. What did that say to you just now? All right. They say if the whole bathroom steams up while you shower, you definitely need to turn that temperature down. Stick to lukewarm showers and baths, and your skin will thank you. And that kind of makes sense, because the hotter the water, the more your skin will dry. So you definitely want to get that temperature just right. They say it's also important for people with eczema to choose the right soap and use it correctly. So find one that's free from fragrance, dyes, and preservatives. Stay away from antibacterial soaps. Those soaps dry your skin out significantly. Additionally, you don't need to use soap on your entire body. Wow. Soap up your areas like your armpits, your groin, and avoid the rest. Wow. They say soap dries out your skin, and with eczema, your goal is to keep moisture in as much as possible. All right. Whoa, that's a lifestyle change. We're talking about lifestyle changes if you have eczema. The second thing, commit to moisturizing. Moisturizing is the cornerstone of eczema therapy. If you just take the pills, injections, or topical steroids, you're not going to get 100% better. But immediately after you get out of the shower or the bath, gently pat yourself with a towel until you're slightly dry, and then apply moisturizer to your entire body. When you use moisturizer, they say pick a moisturizing cream or lotion, again, without those fragrances, dyes, or preservatives, and consider using oils like coconut oil to really keep in the moisture. Okay. They say also recommend that patients use humidifiers to fill the air around them with moisture too. All right. So here's the deal with coconut oil. Did a lot of research on it, especially if you're not using hot water. Coconut will stop up your line. Yes. So if you're going to use coconut oil, now here's the thing, they're telling you don't use soap on your body, but use coconut oil, and don't use hot water. Coconut oil will harden with anything. Well, let's go the opposite way. Coconut oil softens after 76 degrees. Yes, it starts to melt. So I'm not saying get your water 76 degrees, but if you're showering and you're taking off, that coconut oil is going down the drain, but if the water is not hot enough, then it will clog up the drain. So if you're going to use coconut oil, do not use a whole lot of it, because you need to get that off your skin, and you need to continue to use your plumbing after you get that coconut oil off you. So balance it out well, especially people who are in a home, because if you're in a building, you're flushing down. So it's helping to push down. But if you're in a home, you don't have that constant flow of water. Okay. All right. Don't say Pastor Steph didn't tell you. All right. Lifestyle changes for those who have eczema. Don't scratch that itch is what you're being told today. The hardest part of eczema is the itching. I watched it. I can't even imagine going through it. When you scratch, you can open up your wounds, and that can be a terrible thing. If those wounds get infected, it can be a horror. I've watched it happen, and I've had to be involved with the aftercare. So when patients go to the dermatologist, make sure you ask for some suggestions for you. Everything is not for everybody, okay? So make sure you get that moisturizer, that proper moisturizer. Get it, and get it fast so your skin is not itching. All right. Follow a balanced diet. We're always talking about what you take into your body, what you eat. Oh boy, that's a big thing when it comes to your healing. All right. They say eczema is caused by inflammation in the skin. So you need to reduce the inflammation as much as possible. If we don't talk about anything else here on this Due Time with Pastor Steph, we talk about those anti-inflammatory things. Yes, things to keep the inflammation down. Fruits, vegetables, fiber are great for keeping the inflammation down. And keep away from the red meat. Keep away from the processed foods. Those are definitely killers on inflammation. All right. They say also make sure you get your vitamin D supplements in and get out in the sun. Now it's kind of shaky if you have eczema because you're out in the sun, blah, 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 blah. But you're definitely going to have to get those supplements. Okay. All righty. Manage your stress. Boy, surprise, surprise, surprise. Manage stress. Stress will definitely cause any illness to exacerbate. Yeah, it will exacerbate. Let me put it that way. It'll exacerbate any illness. And living with stress is definitely something that will keep you ill. Because how does it manifest? How does stress manifest? In your health. All right. Today's Therapeutic Thursday. I'm sorry, I got to tell you about it. All right. They say we know it's not contagious, but make sure you keep all stress levels down. Okay. You want to make sure that I'm going to put it this way. Stay prayerful, read your Bible, stay away from stressful people and things. And your eczema will definitely get a little better. Okay? All right. So those are the things that we need to do to make sure that our eczema stays in check and gets better. So there are some lifestyle changes that you definitely need to grab onto. All righty. What are we talking about today? So, for those who are going to travel, they put out a little travel hack that the airlines are not taking too kindly to. But I've tried this before and never thought of it as a hack. But now that I'm reading it, I realize they're calling it a hack. So, when you're booking your flight, and I've done this with buses and trains as well, and it works. I'm telling you, it works sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. But they're bringing this up, especially when it comes to your airfare. So, what they're finding, what they say that people are finding is they're finding that when you book your round trip ticket, well, let's say a one-way ticket. Let's talk about one-way tickets. When you book your one-way ticket, you may have a layover. And, most people like just to go direct. But some people don't mind a layover, especially because layovers mean cheaper flights. Well, they're finding that if you go with a layover, it costs more if you do a complete layover, a complete travel itinerary, opposed to if you make that okay, let me just put it this way. Let's say for argument's sake, Atlanta is your destination and there's a layover before you get to Atlanta. They're saying that layover spot, it's going to be cheaper if you do it as a layover. Yeah. Opposed to going direct. Yeah. It works. Trust me, it works. I've done it. And it works. And the travel, the airlines are mad because they're saying what's happening is because you're not going the distance, they feel they're losing money and they're wasting seats. Because if you're getting off and you're going to the first layover destination and you're not getting back on that second leg of the flight, then the flight is empty. And they could have sold those seats, and they're realizing that that's what people are doing. So, hey, I ain't mad. So the people are saying, well, you know what? Lower your flights. And we don't have to do that. And you got the other concept is you got the money already. What do you care? What do you care? So I don't know. I haven't been led that it's wrong. You're trying to get the best for your buck, best bang for the buck. And if that means that I'm going to DC and it's cheaper for me to fly, to book a flight that's going to Atlanta with a layover in DC, and I get off at DC and I don't get on that second leg and go to Atlanta, I'm in DC. What do I care? What do you care? You got the money for it already. I don't know how they're going to fix this. That's my concern. What are they going to do to stop people from doing that? Well, again, people are saying lower your airfare. Why are you charging me so much money? And if I'm willing to pay X, Y, and Z, and I'm not actually going all the way to Atlanta and I get off in DC, it shouldn't bother you at all. So you might want to try it. Try it. So in other words, let me give this again. So if you're going to DC and the flight direct from New York to DC is $150, but the flight to Atlanta with a layover in DC is $120. Save the $30. Book the flight to Atlanta with the layover in DC. Get off in DC and go about your business. That's what they're doing. So like I said, I don't see anything wrong with it. Lord ain't talked to me about that yet. So where you can save your money. I don't know. Has anybody tried it? Let me know. Let me know if you've tried it and if it's worked. All right. Let me see. Okay. Well, Terrence is going back to the eczema health tip. We also got a good morning from our girl, Teresa. Good morning, Teresa. Thank you so much for joining us. Terrence is saying, get a vent in your bathroom. Okay. Terrence does that kind of work, by the way. So he knows. He says, I will be one dry man. I am using my soap. Yeah, I'm with you, Terrence. I don't think I can go with the suggestion that don't use any soap. I just say go back to using the type of soap that will not dry your skin out. Because we can't be dirty. That's what's going to happen. I'm sorry. Try not using soap. Yeah, you'll be a dirty individual. All right. Now, speaking of airlines, they are trifling. So there's a Silver Airways. Now that's a regional airline based in Florida. They abruptly canceled all their flights on Wednesday, June 11th, which was yesterday, leaving their travelers stranded. You know why? Because they went bankrupt. Y'all couldn't have done this better than that? Yes. How you take people's money and stop the flights? So they put out a notice. We regret to inform you that we are ceasing operations as of today, June 11, 2025. In an attempt to restructure in bankruptcy, Silver entered into a transaction to sell its assets to another airline holding company who unfortunately has determined to not continue Silver's flight operations. That's the word that was put up yesterday. All right. Now, this carrier operates in Florida and in the Caribbean. So here's the deal. Here was part of the message. Please do not go to the airport. All credit card purchases should be refundable through your credit card company or your travel agency. So what happened was they tried to sell, and initially, as far as this is going, when you read further, the company that bought them out initially was supposed to pick up their operations. But they decided, as you heard in the announcement, they decided not to, which left everybody stranded. Yesterday, how are you telling people don't go to the airport? Now remember, this airline operated in Florida and the Caribbean. These are vacation hubs. So it's June. People are traveling. People are celebrating anniversaries, wedding anniversaries. They're celebrating graduations. They're celebrating all of these things. And you tell them the day of, don't go to the airport, that if they used a credit card or a travel agency, it should be refunded. Their fare should be refundable. Should be refundable. Well, here's the kicker. Are you ready for this? They said that if you did not use a credit card or a travel agent, you have to get in line with all of their creditors who they have thrown into the list for bankruptcy. You ain't getting your money back. You're not getting your money back. Well, I'm trying to figure out, first of all, how else do you pay? Because you can't pay in cash for your, what do you call it? Your airfare. Now, the only way I could think of is if it's a debit card. If it's a debit card, you out of luck. Because if you notice, if you buy gift cards, you can't buy a gift card with a debit card. No. You can buy a gift card with a credit card, but you can't buy a gift card with a debit card. Weird. But that's what the airline did. That's what the airline did. Trifling! Why you take these people's money? Even when you knew you were in the middle of bankruptcy. Because they're trying to get a bailout. They're trying to get all the money that they can. Yeah, y'all are trifling. Y'all are truly trifling. So hopefully those people purchase with a credit card and the credit card company. So now the credit card company should be out of money. Remember, listen to the terminology. If you purchase with a credit card, it should be refundable via your credit card company. Y'all are trifling. Well, watch me whip. Watch me nay-nay. 30 years. These, I hate to say it. These black people just giving up their lives. These young black men are just giving up their lives. So you have rapper Salento. I don't know if that's how you say the name. That's how you say the name. First of all, this is the first time I'm hearing who even made the song. I know the song back in 2015. This song was a big hit. You saw all the kids doing the nay-nay. Remember that? The nay-nay? Doing the nay-nay. And he was a junior in high school when he wrote the song, and it went big instantaneously. And they say that from back in 2021, January of 2021, he shot his cousin, Frederick Rooks, Yes, that's right. Frederick Rooks, he shot him. They found him with a gunshot wound to the face and leg, and they ended up snatching him up, Salento, for this particular act. He's been in jail since 21. He went to jail, was found guilty, and they said a separate felony murder charge was dropped as part of his plea agreement. So he admitted to what he did, and so he wasn't found guilty. I have to take that back. And they sentenced him to 30 years with credit for time served since 2021. Now, he is, let me see, 27. Yes. So 30 years on 27, he'll be about 60, close to 60, 55, 60 when he comes out. And his cousin was 34. They don't say what exactly happened, but they say he was struggling with mental illness, that there's been some problems with him from quite some time ago, that he suffered immensely from mental illness, a series of mental illnesses. Now, that's the first time I have ever heard it described that way, a series of mental illnesses. So here's what you're saying, that he went from one mental illness to the next. If you're mentally ill, you're mentally ill. What are you going to do? But the judge sentenced him to 30 years. So they're not giving him mental illness treatment. They say at one time he was stopped. He was driving 143 miles per hour in his car. And another time they found that he had attempted suicide. My thought, that 143 miles an hour drive, that was a suicide attempt as well. You ain't driving that kind of, Had he hit anything at 143 miles per, listen, I have had to sit on the, not behind the driver, diagonal from the driver, because I need to watch that speedometer. And I have to tell you, as I'm getting older, I'm getting more sensitive, because I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they doing, like 90? And when I look over, they're only doing like 60. It feels different. I don't even want to know what 143 feels like. I would be dead. I just die on the spot. Yeah. I'm serious. I've had to look over at the speedometer and I'm like, oh, okay, I can't say nothing, because it ain't that fast. So he's got a long way to go, because he only did 4 years now, and that 4 years will be credited to his 30 years. So he's gonna have to do 26 long years in there. And again, there's nothing that says they're giving him some mental illness treatment. So I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Let's see what's going on here. I need to check out something. Do I have any of my Due Time crew on with me? I see a head moving in the wings. Is that my lady Tamika? If not, there we go. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I am well, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, Vivian just popped up on the screen as well. How are you this morning?
I'm doing just great. Just great. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Thank you so much for jumping on board with me this morning, at the last minute. I appreciate it. And let's get to talking. So they've got this travel hack that they're talking about. and that's to book a trip that's cheaper fully. So book a trip from here to Atlanta with a layover in Washington. And don't book the trip from here to Washington because that was $150. But the trip to Atlanta was only $120 with the layover in Washington. And they are angry at the airlines because people are doing this. And they're like, hey, stop that. And people are saying, listen, lower your ticket fares. And what do you care? I paid for it already. What's your thought?
Right. It's not like the ticket is free. Either way, I gave you my money, so whether I chose to go the whole way or whether I took a stop, spend some time with a little family, a little while, or just relaxed and enjoyed the in between. What's the problem? You're still getting paid. Quit whining about, $2 or $3. It's saving me. I mean, with everything that I got to pay on a regular basis, all of the different things that we as a family household are exposed to, everybody wants $1. I'm looking at tickets, even trying to get tickets now. It's a game, used to be
Right.
you could stay with one particular airline and you'd be fine because you knew this particular airline was a little cheaper. Now you got all these different extra sites, Expedia, Priceline, there's Kayak, there's so many different ones now to try and help you save $1. Why are you whining about this little bit? Just relax. You're getting paid. Stop, be easy.
Yeah. I agree personally, as a person who does a lot of booking, I help a lot of people book. I have my little secret spots that I go to that end up being cheaper than what, they have found. And like I said, I've seen, I didn't pick up that. I've never used this hack, but, I've thought about, hey, why don't you just get off? Just never did it. But my thing is, I agree. The ticket's been paid for. And what do you care? What do you care? You're saying you could have sold those seats. You did sell the seats, Tamika.
Somebody sat in them.
But even if you didn't, you sold the seat.
Right.
The seat was sold. Like you said, it wasn't free. It's sold. Now, I got a comment here about that particular thing. I think something flashed up on my screen. One of the problems with the layover, God help you if the flight en route has to be diverted for whatever reason. Don't know how often that happens. Where do you actually end up? There's not a lot of diversions in the flights. Pretty much the only thing that most times what happens is your flight is late. But you really don't have diversions. That's very rare. If I'm understanding the scenario correctly, I haven't heard that much more than I've heard a flight that's constantly delayed. That there is a pain in the neck. I feel so bad for people who have gotten stuck in the airports because of the delays in the flights. But that's pretty much when you're going from one point to the next. If you have a layover and you land, you just, the worst thing that could happen is if your flight is late and when you get to your layover, that flight is gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, those are the type of things that can happen. But diversions and things like that, that's not very, that's a real rare thing. So, all righty. Now, what about this airline that canceled on people day of? Oh my, can you imagine you didn't pack for vacation to Florida or the Caribbean and now they're saying, hey, don't even bother to go to the airport.
Oh my goodness.
And you gotta hope that if you bought your ticket with a credit card, that you get your money back from the credit card company or the travel agency. And they say if you did not purchase with a credit card, then you have to get online with the other creditors in their bankruptcy claim?
You couldn't have given me a heads up. I guess not, because you knew.
Yeah.
You knew. I mean, you think about it. You trying to plan a family vacation. Maybe even a honeymoon. You never know. What people are doing.
Right.
A girls' weekend. So all of y'all purchased your ticket only, and you get to the airport only to find out it's not your flight is canceled. It's not that your flight is delayed. You mean to tell me that bye-bye to everything and my money,
Yep.
I gotta figure out if maybe I can even get my money back.
Right.
There's no telling. And it's not like you're gonna put me on another airline so that I can get to my destination. You just said, we're gone. Figure it out. That's horrible.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Again, they knew. Okay, so the claim is that they thought that the people that were buying them out would honor the flights and keep the flights going, and maybe they even told them that. But you ain't got no business selling tickets. But again, they continue to do business because they keep gathering up the money. They're so crooked. They are so crooked. Oh my goodness, they are so crooked. They are so crooked. Oh, let's say hello to our girl Vivian and see what she's got to say about these things. Good morning, Viv.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm well, thank you. I'm well. So you've got this, they call it a sneaky travel hack. What do you think? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's not fair? What you think?
I think it's fair. I've actually I didn't think of like staying there, but when I was looking at flights, I saw they had a layover for some time. So my thought was, you get off on a layover, you leave the airport, you travel around before you catch your next flight. You kind of get 2 vacations in one. So I think it's fair. Listen, you're saving money. Like you said, Pastor, you're still getting paid for this seat, whether I take it up or not. You still got paid for it. So I don't see what they're upset about.
Yeah. They're upset because they know they're losing money. So they're like, but you're crying. Don't cry. Just charge accordingly.
Right.
That's it. Charge accordingly. Now, this airline who just dropped everybody said, don't go to the airport. And you know what? Go get your money back. If you purchase with a credit card, go get it back from the credit card company. If you purchase with a travel agent, go. Who uses travel agencies these days, Vivian?
Right. With all this technology out here, ain't nobody really using no travel agent. I hope
you
there's
gonna pay
some type
them?
of legal action to this, because that's really messed up. Because in order to do bankruptcy, you have to know in advance that you're doing bankruptcy. This is not you file today and tomorrow it's done. No, this takes some time. So you planned this. You knew exactly what you were doing to these people. I hope there's some type of legal action against them, because that's really wrong. You don't know what people had to go through if they go into a funeral or graduation and they really had to scrape up some money to get this ticket, and now they're just out of the flight and out of the money. That's messed up.
Well, unfortunately, Viv, and this is not the first time I've heard of this, like they said, you're going to have to get online with the other bankruptcy creditors. So, because now it's technically people you owe. Ooh.
Wow.
Boy, they know how to get out of stuff, right? It's technically people you owe. So when you itemize all of the people you owe money to, and you're putting General Electric and, Monfiston Technologies and Tamika Nails and, and Screws, you putting down Stephanie Griffin, Mary Jones. Yeah. And you put down how much you owe them. So can you imagine putting down, to this company, you owe them $280,000, but you only owe Mary Jones, $350. Yeah. This is not the first time I've heard that even smaller people like us can go on a bankruptcy list, and that's how they getting out of this. So, like I said, I'm sorry.
I said, who's to say who's going to get what first?
Right. If the judge is nice enough to say, you know what, well, because you have to declare what you have. So, okay, we've got $5 billion. And the judge makes the decision and says, okay, well, you owe 90 basic consumers, altogether $4,000. Pay them off first. That's what happens in a bankruptcy. They make the decision as to who gets paid first. So hopefully the judge will look at this and feel sorry for all the consumers who, put their little money, like you said, Viv, put their little money out and get that back first, opposed to these major companies. Try Flynn. They are, oh man, they are something else. They are something else. Thank you, ladies, for joining me at the last minute. So appreciative. Let's see if we can pull up. I know Shantice is hanging in the wing, but I'm going to grab Pastor KL and say thank you to him for jumping on board as well at the last minute. Good morning, Pastor KL.
Good morning, ladies. How y'all doing?
Good morning.
You sound tired.
Somebody, this is like that plane thing. Somebody told me at the last minute talking about get on. I don't understand. What kind of buffoonery is this?
Thank you so much for jumping on at the last minute. I guess it has said she had a medical emergency. So, I was kind of stuck this morning.
A doctor's note. I want a doctor's note.
Well, I wasn't only stuck for the Due Time crew, who I told indirectly and directly by posting on your timelines, you ain't got to be on with me today. But I was stuck for news. I didn't have any news. And I was like, oh my God, it's 5 after 6. What are we going to talk about? So thank God there's always a ram in the bush. There were some things that came up, really quickly. And I'm like, you know what? No matter what Due Time crew can show up, we can always do our thing. So I wasn't worried. I was just worried about having some topics to talk about. Okay, so Pastor KL, we're talking about this travel hack. And, for one who travels, do you think it's a sneaky travel hack? Or do you think, hey, we have every right to be able, to maneuver this thing, manipulate this thing as we see fit?
Unfortunately, I didn't hear the story of the travel hack. I only heard the second story, so I'm not sure what you guys are talking about.
All right, so let me tell you real quick. So they're calling it a sneaker. Yes, they're calling. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Pastor Kale?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so they're calling it a sneaky travel hack. So what people are doing is so when you go to search for fares, you see a fare from New York to Atlanta with a layover in Washington, D.C., and that is $150. You really need to go to Washington, but if you book from New York to Washington, it's $190. So what people are doing is they're booking the cheaper flight and they're actually getting off at the layover because that was the cheaper fare, and they're not going on that second leg of the trip. So now the airline is upset because they're saying, hey, we don't, the second plane is emptier than we anticipated, and we could have sold those seats. But You did sell the seats. So what are you complaining about? So listen, it's a consumer movement. Do you consider it a sneaky hack and it's wrong, or do you agree with the airline?
No, I think that is a come up. First of all, the airline, you already you sold the seat. You got to pay for the seat. You know what I mean? I just went a little cheaper. You know what I mean? I think it worked. I think it worked out very, very well. You know, for everybody. Again, you've already gotten paid. You know, I didn't have to pay as much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I look at it as a come up for your staff. Instead of having a full plane to deal with, they got half the plane to deal with, and they're still getting paid. Yo, what you complaining about?
You
Call me
saved you a couple
crazy.
of peanuts. You save peanuts, you know. You got peanuts and drinks.
And the cleaning of the plane, you don't have to clean as many seats if you're cleaning at all. You know, so yo, what you complaining about? I see a whole lot of come ups here. So okay, well, thank you. We got it across the board. Well, we haven't heard from Shantice yet, but we got it across the board so far. Now, Ella, you heard the story of the airline who said, "Hey, don't show up at the airport today." What's your thought?
Well, for me, I'm gonna lose money because I've never had a credit card in my life, so everything I pay is from debit. So I'm gonna lose money, and now I'm upset. I'm really upset because, you know, I hear you guys talking about the bankruptcy. You go to bankruptcy because you ain't got no money. So why am I waiting on a line to try to get my money back that you don't have? You know, that's gonna be the biggest fight. The reason why I even filed Chapter 11 or bankruptcy is because I have no money. So what's the confidence I'm going to have? You owe people millions and thousands of dollars. You owe me 300. You think I'm gonna see 300? That's not gonna happen. Now, let me look at it from another stand. Everybody knows I work retail. Now, my company and another company has merged. I mean, we've merged 7-8 years ago. But now we're about to get a divorce. They're going their way. We're going our way. Now, in this divorce, your store might close. Your store closes, you have the option to go to the other side or go home. Go to the other banner or go home. Now, if I'm getting hired on and you tell me all of this, listen, I might not want to come to this company because I don't understand, or I don't know how it's going to work out. So to me, if I'm buying a ticket, there should have been a disclosure. Hey, you know, they're going through bankruptcy. You might not get on this plane. Think twice whether you want to buy this ticket or not. Because as I think Vivian said, you know this way in advance. You know what I mean? When you get an eviction notice, they don't put you out that day. You got to go to court. They give you time. All this stuff. No. They should have been a disclosure. You pay at your own risk. You may not get on flight 50-50. You know, tell me something.
Unfortunately, this is not an uncommon practice, you know, again, you know, when you file bankruptcy, you're not, okay, so bankruptcy is a little different for companies than it is for people. But now, because of all of the bankruptcy stuff, they have changed the face of bankruptcy. So now you have to pay the creditors back. You will not pay them as much sometimes, but sometimes now the judges are making you pay the creditors back, and you just have to pay them over time. There's no longer a Chapter 7 that says, I ain't got no money and nobody gets paid. That's what the crash was about quite a few years ago. So they have stopped that. When it comes to companies filing bankruptcy, they're not allowed to file bankruptcy at, as my mother would say, zero. They have to have some money on board. So that's why I'm saying to you all, that sneaky thing of taking people's money and knowing that you were not going to fulfill, because they claimed the other, whoever was picking them up or whoever's partnering with them was going to fulfill the flight. That was no guarantee, because you can't dictate what the new person does who's bought you out. So you need to collect all the money you can, because you have to pay your creditors back. So now, in collecting all of, let's say, 1 million people's money, yeah, it's a lot of money when you add up 1 million people's $200. So they know that they got a backup plan. Remember how it's worded from their spokesperson. Go to your credit card company, who should refund your money, because there's a claim we can make with the credit card company, and the credit card companies their insurances have extended, so they're picking up a lot more of our claims. If you notice, fraud, they're picking up. If you call them and say, listen, somebody used my card and I don't know nothing about this, they give you your money back. They really don't press you. They give you your money back on a temporary basis, and then they do the research. If they find that it looks like you're not the one, then again, it's the insurance, that's the insurance is going to pick it up for the thievery. If you notice, there's a lot more room here now. So they're anticipating that, and they've done their research, that the credit card companies know that you got blatantly ripped off. They're going to give you your money back, because they know that as a consumer, you trusted that company to provide that service. So they very well may give you their money back, because on the back end, the credit card company is going to be, they're insured for that, and they're going to get their money. So see, all of this is a tactic that they use to get more money in their bank account. So when they go before the courts, they can say, we now have this much, and you know what? Okay, we'll just put their name on the list. Now, here's the thing. You got to put your name on the list, Tamika. You got to put your name on the list, Pastor KL. You've got to put your name on the list, Viv. If you don't put your name on the list, guess what? They may not put your name on the list, because you're not the big business. See, the big business can go, and they going after their hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. These look, you didn't got your money back from the credit card company. Chances are you're not going, you're not grabbing up no money. You ain't going on no bankruptcy list. You're not going for it twice, because you're not waiting for it. So it's a lot of conniving going on in the back door. Trust me when I tell you. Shantice, let's say good morning to Shantice. Thank you so much. Were you gonna say something, Tamika?
No, I'll wait till after Shantice.
Okay, good morning, Shantice.
Good morning. How's everyone doing?
Morning.
All right, thank you for jumping in at the last minute. We're gonna say good morning right now to Deacon Diallo. Good morning. Thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate you, and we trust that you're doing well. Shantice, we got this sneaky, what they're calling a sneaky travel hack. Do you deem it sneaky, or you're like, listen, you got the best of both worlds, and so did I? What's your thought?
No, it's only sneaky because they're not benefiting from it the way they would want to. But I thought a lot of times, a lot of travelers look for that perk, that they expect to pay more if it's a straight flight. If it's a layover, they get some dollars shaved off. And like Vivian said, right. And that's always been my mentality towards it. Especially if it's a layover somewhere where I may want to go sightsee or something like that, then absolutely, as I don't have to travel with my luggage. If I've checked my luggage and I can leave, coming back through TSA is nothing, because I ain't got no luggage. So that's pretty much just me walking through the metal detectors again. And I just make sure I'm back in a timely fashion, so I'm not rushing back, potentially missing, the connecting flight. But no, it's only sneaky because when they look at their numbers, they're not coming up. Oh no, the travelers are the ones that's coming up. We're gonna have to fix this.
Absolutely. All right. What say you about this airline that abandoned all of their passengers?
That is disgusting. It's as it was said, they knew beforehand. And you're still booking these flights. So what? So at any point, y'all could have went bankrupt. Y'all could have been up in the air. And it's like, oh, we may not be able to land because it costs to land. And I don't know. Or we may have to land before we actually get to the destination because we are also people. It's like, how do you do that? How do you? But you know what? We do it all the time. How many times do we call Shorty Tim, Ray Earl, and them to borrow to borrow $20? Now you know you ain't got no means to pay this $20 back. So already your verbiage is off. You need to be asking, can I have? Because borrow means you have intentions on paying it back. You can only have intentions on paying it back if you know you have the means and the resources to pay it back. So y'all knew y'all were taking these people's money without having the resources to provide the service. How do you do that? And is this a private line?
Yes. This
is another thing.
It's called what's its wait? Let me get the name. It's called, I think it's Silver. It's called Silver Airways.
That's another problem. How many times, Pastor Steph, have we been searching for car rentals to book, and we come across he knows rentals, and it's only $5 a day, and we're like, nah, never mind. Let's go over here to Avis where it's $200 a day, because that's a whole lot of money, and it's gonna be more than $200 after they put the taxes and the toll. But so what? Because at least they're credible. God forbid something happened, I have a better chance of going after them. Right. Versus he knows rentals. No, we listen. I know a lot of times you get what you pay for a lot of the times. I don't know. I don't remember you mentioning like their fares were a lot less expensive than had they gone through a Delta or American Airlines or anything like that. But a lot of times we got to be really careful about utilizing, patronizing these businesses, these establishments that are not big name, because God forbid something happened. What can you do to really track them down?
All righty. Thank you so much. Tamika, you were going to say something.
You know, I used to work a long time ago in an airline, and I'm just thinking about, in one sense, I thought it comically, you seeing the big bosses there as an employee. You see the big boss there, you're working at the counter, you're not really paying attention, you don't see what's going on. Then they tell you, they're only going to tell you probably about the week of, or maybe that Friday, Monday, don't come into work. And I'm just looking at all the stuff that could be happening. You just booked flights for people. You went through your whole normal thing, and then they don't even tell you, because I guarantee you they didn't tell these employees that they were going into bankruptcy. So I worked last Friday only to come in or be told Friday, that's your last day. Or somebody might have gotten a call on Monday morning, don't come into work. And just looking at all the stuff, people, shredding stuff, documentation. I'm just, my mind is blown. In one sense, it's comical, but then I think about it, I'm like, that's somebody's, resources. I saved all this money. You think about you going on a vacation, you saving money. You got this, you got resources, and that's somebody's hard-earned money that they may or may not, they should get back. Horrible.
Yep. Absolutely. Again, trifling. They're just thinking about themselves. It doesn't matter. And it's very common. It's very common. It very commonly happens. So, put Vivian on this. Oh, there she is. Hey, Viv. Okay. All righty. So, I have this story, and it's a matter of opinion again. Wait, Terrence says, abandoning people like that is crazy. More of a lawsuit. Yeah. Well, get online, as they say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, get online. It is bad. It's terrible. But again, they don't care anything about the consumer. It doesn't matter. So I have this story. Now, we know that Pastor Jamal Bryant is, he's big on this Target boycott, especially for us Black and brown people. And he's really talking about the protesting and all of this stuff. Well, Cardi B just recently, yes, Cardi B just recently posted that she had taken her children shopping at Target, and she had a selfie and a couple of selfies of her at Target. And we all know what Target looks like, their little red carts and things like that. And there was no question that it was Target. So he took to write her. Here's what he wrote: Grace and peace to you. I come to you with a chest full of love, explaining the reason for the ongoing boycott. When I saw you post a picture of you and your beautiful family in the store, I felt certain that with your demanding schedule, you were probably unaware. Having 163 million people following you is a great deal of influence, and many follow your lead. I hope you will visit targetfast.org and walk alongside us. I'm fully aware that you identify as Latino and that you have children that represent both communities. And to that end, you should know the movement has support as well as buy-in from the Latino community, and more specifically, workers. Your presence to be a part of the most effective boycott in 70 years since the Montgomery bus boycott. In the words of Martin Luther King, a person who doesn't stand for something will fall for anything. There has been a national boycott against Target because they have betrayed our community by dismantling diversity, equity, and inclusion. African Americans have spent $20 million a day, and yet they don't see us as a viable partner. We've asked them to invest in Black banks, Black colleges, and Black communities. And under pressure from the administration, they haven't felt compelled to even respond. Our unified movement of churches and grassroots organizations has led to a drop in their stock, a reduction of foot traffic, a reduction of their valuation, and a slashing of the CEO's salary. Last, we collectively have canceled Target because we don't think patronizing them is best for our community. Alrighty. So that's what he wrote to Cardi B. So now the community is split because they're saying, A, leave her alone. If that's what she wants to do, she should have heard about this boycott by now. Yeah, she might be busy, as you say, but she ain't like underground. So leave her alone. Others say just leave her alone, period. Whether she's heard about it or not, leave her alone. Others say he was right. He should have definitely reached out to her and advised her and encouraged her to join us. So I'll ask you, Tamika, what should he have done?
I honestly don't think that there was anything wrong with what he did. He was just bringing it to her attention, and she has a choice afterwards to, either heed, what he's asking for or not. He's telling her, listen, I'm not beating you up, but I want you to join us. That's literally all he's saying.
Okay. So you said there's no problem for the reach out. What say you, Viv?
Agree. I didn't see anything wrong with what he did. He brought it to her attention. At first, I thought he didn't have to put it like out in public. He could have messaged her. But knowing what I know about Instagram DMs, and especially when you're a big name celebrity like Cardi B, she probably wouldn't see the message, but she'll definitely see them ads when people are adding her and tagging her in this post. She'll pay attention to that. So I didn't see anything wrong with what he did, making her aware of what's going on. Yes, she probably already does know, but now you don't have the excuse as to say, well, I didn't know what was going on. Now you know what's going on, and you can make the choice whether you're still going to support or if you're going to as he says, join us in boycotting Target. But I didn't see anything wrong with what he did.
Okay. As a matter of fact, Vivian, they do say here that some people say, yeah, you should have reached out to her directly. So that was one of the things that they said also. Okay. Shantice, what say you? How should he have handled this? Or should he have handled it at all?
He needed to have kept his mouth shut. He is a pastor still, correct?
Yes.
Okay. This is the same pastor who at Marvin Sapp's ordination stood in front of that church and said for 85% of Jesus's life, he led a sinful life. Which means you do not know of what you're supposed to be representing. Meanwhile, you're taking the time to talk to someone about where they're shopping. So my question becomes, what's more important, that you study and know the word of God and the truth? Because it's not God's truth, it's the truth. Because your main topic of conversation should be that Jesus saves. But how could you tell people that Jesus saves if for 85% of Jesus' life, he led the life of the devil? Because if you're sinning, you're not living the life of God, but yet you're here to criticize the fact that someone is shopping somewhere that you feel should be boycotted for whatever the reason is, whether it's a justified reason or not. It's like people are taking the time. It's like Trump. You're the president, but you're tweeting. You're the president, but you're worried about what country songs are being sung to somebody else and not you. You're like, I thought the president's supposed to be focusing on manning the states of America. How you got time to be doing all this other stuff? It's amazing to me how we take the time to focus on things that we feel we have a voice on, or the things that we want to speak on. Meanwhile, the main thing we're supposed to talking about is just like, so for me, it's like anything you say is kind of null and void because of the other buffoonery that you have put out. In addition to the fact that you're doing this for clout, because if you really cared about the main objective, which is we should not be patronizing these people because they pretty much diss our culture and you represent two cultures, that would have been something direct. That would not be a post where I tag you or however it was done. No, shut up and focus on representing what you should be representing.
Okay. Pastor KL, what say you?
I don't think there was anything wrong with it. I think he used the platform not only for her, but because of her followers, it'll get the attention of the other followers as well, who may not have been educated in this system that we're going through. You know, she has a lot of people that follow her. So if she crosses over, then they cross over. It's a whole political thing. You know, Trump used all these rappers, he used Snoop, he used all these folks, you know, on his side so he could pull the audience. It's just a political thing. You know, he didn't critique her. There was no criticism. He just stated, you know, in case you don't know what we're doing.
Okay. Well, going back, Terrence says, if you think about it, talking about the airlines, they are smart criminals because when they go bankruptcy, they don't have to pay that money back. The people will lose out. Yeah, it's anybody's guess as to who gets paid. They do have to pay back the creditors. They do have to pay, you know, people back. Again, you can't do that any longer. But businesses were never allowed to do that because their bankruptcy was a little different than regular average consumer, you and I. But they're going to run out of money, and they know that. And they're not going to have to pay back everybody. So we'll see. And Terrence says, I agree with Tamika. Oh, my. He agrees with somebody other than Pastor KL? Wow. All right. We better pay attention to that. Okay. I don't think he did anything wrong. So let me say that first. I agree. I don't think he did anything wrong, but I do feel like, why? I get the whole concept because he specifically says, you've got like 100 and something thousand followers and you have that level of influence. So that was the smart move, because some people say, like Vivian mentioned, you could go into her DM and get the job done, but he would not have gotten the job done having 163 million people following you. Then it would have just gone to Cardi B. And then if she decided to talk about it, then she would have been able to manipulate the conversation to be what she said it was. However, by him putting it into, an open forum, there's no fuss, no muss in regards to what he did say. He was tactful. He did not, beat her up or in any shape, form, or fashion. So she could not accuse him of that. But I'm like, leave alone. But his goal is to reach the masses. And he got that. It happened. So it worked. It worked. Would I have targeted her? No, but my thought is those were 193 million people, 163 million people he didn't have access to. So yeah, I'm trying to reach as many people to get them to boycott. So regardless of who I got to reach out to, if I got to reach out to the Pope, if I got to reach out to Cardi B, if I got to reach out to my grandmama, if they got 163 million followers, that's 163 million more people that will see this. It wasn't about Cardi B. It was about Cardi B's followers. So that's why. I have a question in regards to something that he said in the post, and I want to know what you all think about this particular statement. So he says in the statement to her that they reached out to Target for them to, wait, this thing keeps jumping around here. We've asked them to invest. We've asked them to invest into colleges, Black banks, Black colleges, and Black communities. And they have not responded. So my question is, should they have asked for Black colleges, Black banks, Black this, Black that, and be upset that they did not respond, or be upset that they did not agree? Forget about the not responding, because that's an easy way of saying they disrespected me. But I want to know what you think, Shanti. Should you even go that far to ask, invest in our Black banks, invest in our Black communities, invest in our Black colleges? Should that be a specific request?
To an establishment, to an organization, no. I just went on his Instagram. He has 894,000 followers, which maybe about 60,000 people may actually pay attention to what he posts, because we, those of us on social media, we see, even with our own pages, if we got 200 followers, we're averaging about 30 likes, 30 views on stories. Everyone who is following you on social media isn't necessarily paying attention to your content. But again, I'm remembering a few years ago on his due time, we went over the story of him wanting to start a weed business in the church. And that could have been time taken, to formulate an agenda, a plan that would accumulate funds for Black businesses, indie businesses, mainstream Black businesses, universities, other educational institutions, starting new and building new schools. But you're busy focusing on teaching these men how to have a cannabis business via the church. So it sounds crazy to me that now you go with this level of expectation to any other business, especially a mainstream business, and you expect them to do what with your request? To actually listen to it. And we already see, even before this whole DEI thing, whatever, we already see what, in general, what these businesses are focused on, outside of money, of course. You see whatever they want to get into, whatever campaigns, whatever topics, whatever, that's what they're going to get into. For you to now go, what is your level of expectation for that? Meanwhile, when you have your own type of platform, it may not be as big as a Cardi B's, a Diddy's, or whomever's, a TD Jakes, a Dietrich Haddon. So if you want to talk about his peers, it may not be as big as theirs, but you have some type of pull and ability to facilitate your requests. What are you doing to facilitate that? But meanwhile, you're going to them, asking them to do this. I don't think that should have been done.
Okay. Pastor KL, do you feel that there should be some expectation? He says African Americans have spent $12 million a day, and yet they don't see us as a viable partner. We've asked them to invest in Black banks, Black colleges, and Black communities. And under pressure from the administration, they haven't felt compelled to even respond. What's your thought?
You're muted, Pastor Cal.
Sorry. Yeah, his feelings are his feelings. I don't think that he should have went that far as to ask for, donations or support and stuff like that. But this is what I would say, because I'm hearing Shantice's argument and his passion is very strong. In my former life, I did a lot of stuff that wasn't very good, and now I'm a pastor. So should they not hear my voice because of what I carried out, or because of what I wanted to do in my former life? So yeah, he wanted to have a weed thing, but that has nothing to do with what he's standing for now. Now, if you're in the back of your mind, if that let a bad taste in your mouth, then yeah, yes, you don't eat it. But it has nothing to do with what he's trying to do for us now. Don't start the weed. Don't smoke the weed. But the weed and Target is two different programs. They said Martin Luther King, as great as he was, he had an affair. Mm-hmm. Did that take away from what he was trying to do for equalizing us all? No, you can't put one with the other.
Can I quickly respond? Because I agree. And it's not you did this in your past, so you shouldn't have anything to say now. And actually, this is something that God has been getting on me about a lot. When you have what you're supposed to be doing, and a lot of times what we do is we don't capitalize on the opportunities that God has given us, because we're always looking at something else and saying, oh, but that speaks louder. If I talk about that, then what you've given me to do would come out greater versus what I'm able to do. You're talking about trying to reach the masses, or trying to reach, I thought as a pastor, that was your main goal, was to reach the masses. But I've come across different things as to where, as a pastor, you try to reach the masses in ways that a pastor shouldn't try to reach the masses. But meanwhile, you're so passionate about other things that include other people, it just seems, and for me, that's what helps it to seem like a lot of this still has to do with clout chasing, meaning you're still looking to build your platform under your name versus I'm trying to reach the masses for God. Because when you have the opportunity, or when you have the opportunity to speak up, I don't ever hear anything about this man talking about anything godly to try to reach the masses, but yet you have so much to say about things that don't directly touch God. So yes, we're talking about as a mass, no, we should not be patronizing people who exploit our culture in multiple ways, you know. But now when it comes time to now Jesus saves, are you that passionate in pushing that message as a pastor? I have not come across anything like that, but I come across all these other things that you're talking about. That's what it is for me. Not just because, I heard something that you said or done in your past, and now you're talking about this. Like, no, but okay, but what are you doing with your platform that you've been given? I don't ever hear you saying anything about bringing people to the church, but yet there's so much passion and talk about other areas, or in other areas, I should say.
He's always out there in regards to, you know, preaching, or, you know, I mean, how we bring souls to Christ, how Pastor KL brings souls to Christ, and how Pastor Steph does it could be very different. But as far as Jamal Bryant is concerned, he's always out there. He's always out there. And that's why it was so easy for him to spearhead this whole Target thing, because he's not a nobody, if you will. He's not somebody who you really have not heard from or about. That's why the thing with the weed in the church was so explosive, because he is somebody who is, you know, out there. So he is out there, you know. You may not have heard, but he's out there. He's definitely out there. I kind of thought the same thing Pastor KL thought. That's what I was hearing. You know, the question is, should he expect people or Target to invest in Black banks, Black colleges, Black communities? That's the question. And that's what I'd like to hear an answer to. Not what he has done, what he hasn't done. Should he be expecting? And I haven't heard that from Pastor KL either. Maybe he answered it, but I didn't hear him. He responded to you. Should these businesses be expected? You know, he's leaning on the fact that there's $12 million a day that Target gets from the community. And he asked, or they asked, whoever this they is, asked Target to invest in these areas. Should he have expectation of these companies to invest in these areas? That's my question.
No, and I said no. There shouldn't be any level of expectation. There should, because when I heard you say that, all I heard was, well,
you did say that. You did say that.
Yeah, well, we don't get acknowledged at the Oscars. Start your own. That when you first said it, Pastor Steph, that's all I heard in my head. You did.
Yeah,
we don't get acknowledged at the Oscars, so now we're gonna boycott. Okay, boycotting, great. But all the extra whining and all that, no. Take your resources, take your other peers who also feel some type of way that y'all are paying into this union who does not credit y'all, pay y'all any attention, and start your own. That's what made me fall back again on the fact that you had the ability to say you wanted to start a weed business, a lollipop business, a bakery, whatever out of the church. State what you have to state in regards to, you see that the consumers, which we all see, the Black community is what makes any industry and field popping. It is what it is. So now that you see that, and you see that they're not paying us any attention, yes, I agree. Let it be known that you observe this, but for you to have the expectation to go, you don't think that they know that their dollars come from us? So for me to even have, it's like Pastor Steph, how we say, I'm mad I even have to say this to you, like you don't know. So now I'm asking you to pay it forward. I'm asking you to show appreciation to your consumers. Why should I have to ask you to do that when 95% of your consumers are from the Black community? So now I have to go. So that's pretty much me saying you should say thank you because you're getting our Black dollars, our Black and brown dollars. No, let it be known that you observe this, and what will make a greater impact? They see that you are one of the people who are leading the fact that we now have our own Black market again. We have our own version of Target, our own version of this, our own version of that. But no, to go in and have that expectation, to me, I feel is extremely silly with you having the type of voice that you have. Let it be known that you observe it and get with your fellow people, and let's start our own. But to expect it, I think is bogus.
Okay. I apologize. When you said it, I do remember you saying no. You just put so much emphasis on the other thing, kind of wiped out the fact that you said no. Pastor KL, did I hear your answer? Did I hear you say a yay or a nay to the fact that they should or shouldn't have expectation?
I probably didn't answer because I was responding to Shantice, but I am in agreement with Shantice with this, that no, there should be no expectations. It's almost like a quick pro quo, you know what I mean? Because I do this for you, you should do it for me, and it doesn't work like that. You know, we observed, and it's obvious. We know where your money comes from. You know where your money comes from. You know. My mother used to always talk about where my bread was buttered, and I never understood where my bread was buttered. I didn't even eat bread with butter. You know what I mean? So, but then I started to realize when there was no more buttered bread. You know what I mean? And all he's trying to do is to take away the buttered bread. You know, so that now Target can understand. But, you know, in response to what Shantice was saying, make your own brand. You guys got your own brand. You got your own Target. You are Target. You understand? Now you just have to expand it, but you're Target. If everybody takes on the mindset of they are Target and use the gifts that God has given them to move on, then we'll be fine.
Okay. All right. My Due Time crew, again, thank you so much for jumping in at the last minute. And you always do that so well. And giving God thanks for your contribution.
Do we get double time? Do we get double time for today? Is this a holiday? Do we get double time?
We get to stop it.
Thank you. All right. Let's get these comments out the way. Terrence says it's not like he really targeted her anyway. He's seen her pass and picture in Target. That's the only reason why he sent it to her. He didn't just pick her out and they say, we're going to use her. Okay. That's a nice point, Terrence. To me, I think they're asking them to invest in Black people, Black college banks, whatever, to find out and show people their true colors, that they're racist. And he agrees with Pastor KL. Surprise. All right. So I'll weigh in on whether I feel there should be some expectation. And my personal feeling is no. If you're not going to hold every other business to the same standard, then no. And no. My thought is this. You're in business to make money. There is not a business in this world that is not in business to make money. Whether you're a mom and pop business, whether you're a huge conglomerate, you are in it to make money. In the process of making money, can you help the community? And you may have a heart to do so. You know, they have bodegas, owners who they're there on the corner to make money, but you know, they'll do little things. So if you're having like a block party, or what they'll do is they'll do something for the kids, you know, if they're near a what do you call it, a school. I remember the corner store, oh my goodness, they were flooded with the children from the neighborhood in the morning and in the afternoon. You know, if you're near, you want to be a merchant near a school. That's all I'm saying. The things that the kids want, the things that the kids will use, things that the kids will buy. If you're smart, you pizza shops and, you know, bodegas, and listen, they clean up because of the children. So because of that, because the children and the neighbors, you know, make sure that the kids go to that store, whatever, you know, they may do a little something here or there for the community. That should not be an expectation, though. Not on that level. My thing is, you decide you want to open up a bank, then you need to make sure you have all the resources to open up the bank. You need to have the resources to maintain and keep that bank open. You need to make sure that it's something that the community can use, and that you feel the community will support. Now you open up your bank, and now because the community or the Black population floods Target and spends so much money at Target, you expect them to now pour back into the bank? No, I'm sorry. I can't get with that. I cannot get with that. Was that your purpose in opening your business? If Target is making $12 million a day, then they're smart. That's what they opened up their business for, was to make $12 million a day. Now, I go back to what Pastor KL and Shanti said. And Shanti said, I talk about this all the time. And I mean, I don't care what it is. We talk about this all the time. Shame on us. Shame on us that we would take our money and pour. Okay, so $12 million into Target a day. We can't take credit for every bit of that $12 million. I'm sorry. Stop. So even if we say 9 million out of that 12 goes into Target from the Black population, shame on you. Take your 9 million and go open up your own Target. Stop expecting others to do what we are not willing to do for ourselves. It's the same thing we always talk about, like Shanti's brought up, these award shows. We always talk about the My 2 Cents Awards, and we're gathering, you know, we're looking at movies and we're asking people and we're getting people to vote and things like that, because we're making our own. We're not happy with the Oscars, the Golden Globes, and the SAGs that we contribute. Even the white shows, Black people like white shows. You just don't have only white people watch the white shows. Black people watch the white shows. And white people actually watch these Black shows. They may not be as heavily watched as we watch our Black shows, but they watch the Black shows as well. We're the ones who really fuel the Power, you know, a show. We're the ones that really fuel a BMF. We're the ones that maybe really fuel the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and things like that. Make our own awards. We have enough of us. Why are we pouring, you know, our resources into all of someone else's, and we're not building our own? And now you mad that they won't take their money, which that they make from us, to pour back into our college, responsibility. If God puts it on their heart to do it, then fine. But why is that? Oh, we didn't get an answer. You know why? Because of this. What happens if they answer and they answer wrong? It's the same hell you gonna bring than if they didn't answer at all. Because you don't want the answer I'd give you. Because personally, I don't owe you anything. I put the product out there. I do not put a gun to your head, make you buy it. If you opt to shop in my store, then I have the responsibility of doing whatever I choose to do. If I want to go build a brand new college, as long as I'm not discriminating against anybody and doing something illegal or immoral, then let me go open up my own college. But you're going to be mad because I'm not investing in your college? Come on, stop. Please stop. We can't get us together to do anything. When a black bank opens up, how many black people are patronizing that black bank? I don't know. If a black store opened up, how many black people are supporting that black store opposed to supporting Target? And then you want Target to take their money and pour it back. Would it be nice that they donated some money and put it back into the community? Absolutely. But let them put it where they want to put it. It's their money. Why are we dictating with black colleges, black bank? Why? Stop. It's just too much. That's the way Pastor Steph feels. You may not agree, but that's the way Pastor Steph feels. I don't even know if Pastor Kale and Pastor Shantice, if Pastor Kale and Shantice are even saying it to that degree. But I'm saying to the degree of just stop already. Let people do what they want to do. You wanted to take your money and open up a weed business. Whether to put it into the black community or not, we didn't agree. And that's probably why it didn't come to fruition, because you weren't going to get the support that you thought, because you put out there that you were going to put it into the black man and teach the black man about wealth and business and all of this kind of stuff. Well, that didn't fly with the black people. So go figure. Listen, we have the buying power, and we have opted to do this with the buying power. We put it into Nike, we put it into Jordans, we put it into Target, we put it into all these companies. Maybe we should be better about where we shop. But I'm gonna be honest. You tell me to stay out of Walmart. If Walmart has my prices and the things that I like, I'm going to Walmart. If Target has better prices and the things that I like better, I'm going to Target. If it's Kmart, then I'm going to Kmart. You can't tell me where to shop, where I find the best deals or I find the best products, because I can have, Shantice and I don't necessarily agree. Some people love Primark. That might be a place that I don't particularly care for, but you're going to beat me up because I don't like Primark. Some people don't like Walmart. They don't go in Walmart. They don't like the items there. They have an option. We all get our money. I tell people now, and for quite a few years now, and I've told it to Shantice, I've told it to my girls. I said, listen, my money is too hard to come by. I'm not taking my money, putting it everywhere. If you don't treat me right, if I feel like you're overpriced, if I feel like I'm not getting the best bang for my buck, I'm not shopping there. Plain and simple as that. Long gone the days where I just spend just to be spending, or I just spend and it doesn't matter. If I don't like where the way my corner store is treating me, I'll walk an extra 2-3 blocks if I can make it. Or I'll send someone else the extra 2-3 blocks. They have supermarkets in our areas now. And I go in there and I'm like, okay, I can appreciate the fact that you've stepped your game up and you don't look like what you used to look like 5 years ago. and your products are better, but for this neighborhood, you're charging these prices. We don't get that kind of money. And I know you're not paying that kind of money. Stop doing that to us so I don't shop there. Plain simple as that. I'm not going to shop there and then now dictate what they do with the money that I spend there. Period. There should be no mandate on what you do with your money as a business owner. So stop. Just stop doing that. Stop feeling like you want to dictate and you can dictate everything. We have just taken this buying power thing, just it's out of control. So let's just do again. What did God say? What do we have? Support our own. Let's start with building our own. Let's start with building a better network of businesses to support our people and our people support us. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew. Oh, they can't do big time for me today and for you today. Thank you for hanging out with us and keeping that chat room live. Please do not miss this opportunity to give Christ your life right now. Please do not miss this opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. Until tomorrow, God spares, where it's Freestyle Friday and we hear from the men. Until then, God spares. I love